This New York Runaround film details the gathering on February 6th, 2018 of student athlete supporters and other fans of Suffern coach Joe Biddy, and the subsequent gathering before the school board and appeal to retain Joe as the boys cross-country coach for Suffern.
Well, it's a little ghastly looking here because it's kind of dark, and we'll get them in a moment. But here's the Suffern.
What do we want?
The Suffern athletes calling for Joe Biddy to be rehired for, well, at least one more year, and as the cross-country coach of Suffern here. So.
What do we want?
Okay, so they, in a little while, maybe an hour or so from now, we'll get into the Board of Education meeting and hear what the verdict is. So they're saying honk for Biddy here. Now, how many of you guys have run for Biddy?
I think we all have run for Biddy. We all have.
Is he a coach you love and everything? I mean, is that why you're out here?
Yes. We love him for everything he does for us. It's great.
What are the best things?
Well, he's always there for us. I mean, on Sunday mornings, he'd have us go to his house so we could run, just to get the extra mileage in. If we ever had a problem, we can go see him with anything. He calls most of us after every race that we have for winter, even when he's not the coach. He just cares so much for us, for everything, so it's great.
So you don't think when you get over like 60, like certain people here, that your powers diminish as far as like being a coach and all, or?
I don't think so. I mean, I think he's just learning more and more every season, every day really. He gains more knowledge from everything, and he learns a lot from us. We learn even more from him. So I think really the older he gets, the more he's doing for us. So.
Why? As you get older, you get wiser. Well, that's something I think most of us have learned over the years. I mean, you probably know a little bit more than you did when you were, you know, freshmen, seventh graders, whatever, here and all. And any predictions on what you think might happen tonight?
Well, hopefully all of this will result in him coming back and be able to coach the returnees next year. So that's the goal.
So you're a senior?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's you guys that are gonna be. Okay. Well, we'll hear in a short while and see what happens here. We got the Collins. Wait a minute. Did you say there's 4 Collins brothers?
Collins brothers, four Biddy.
Oh, 4 Biddy. Oh, okay. There's 3.
Yeah.
But well, that's impressive as it is. 3 brothers for them, and bring Biddy back. The usual Suffern stuff, and Biddy is, well, as you get in your 60s, you do get sexier. Yes, sexy Biddy. Yes. Okay. Yes, we got it. All right. What do we got here? Bring Biddy back. Black on red in the night is not the best choice, but makes Biddy great again. And oh boy, this is going to be a tough one to get. Biddy is the bomb. Don't block.
Don't blow him out.
Okay, you guys read it off for me.
He is the bomb. Don't blow him out. He is lit. He has shown us his true powers. Go Biddy. SXC. Heart, 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 bomb.
Okay, we got the bombers here. Okay. Well, again, the Suffern cross-countryites here, and they will be rooting for Joe inside in just a little bit. Oh, we got another. We got more lighting coming here.
What do we want? What do we want? What do we want?
Marcus.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Jardina. I'm a senior at Suffern High School, and I have run under Coach Biddy's coaching for the past 4 years. He's much more than just a coach, however. Through the past 4 years, he has taught us all leadership, respect, and what it truly means to be a part of the team. He includes everyone on the team. Every practice we run and every meet is had, he always makes sure that everyone on the team gets an opportunity to run and to improve. Coach Biddy doesn't care about your skill level in the sport, unlike other coaches. If you're committed to the sport, then he's committed to you. Most coaches don't care about anyone other than the varsity kids, but Biddy makes sure that every kid on the team is healthy and progressing the way that he knows they can. And if they're not, then they will soon know. He pushes us to be the best that we possibly can. Not many coaches can turn the worst kid on the team into a Division I runner, but he has time and time again. None of us would be the way that we are today without Coach Biddy. He's created not only one of the most successful dynasties that Suffern has ever had, but he also created a family. Everything I do is with this team, and I don't believe we would all be so close if not for Coach Biddy. He's been here for 50 years, he's seen runners come and go, but he still keeps in touch with them today because he cares. It's not just running to him, this team is a part of his life. Keep Coach Biddy where he belongs.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jimmy Gerhardt. I live in New York. I married my college sweetheart and cross-country teammate. We have two perfect 3-year-old twin daughters, and I ran for Mr. Biddy from 1989 to 1994. This is my personal story. This is my tribute to Mr. Biddy through my own eyes. My particular story may be unique, but I'm not special. Everyone has their own Mr. Biddy story and how he affected their lives. This is mine. Before I begin, I want to establish a genuine belief I hold. Mr. Biddy doesn't really know that much about life. As far as I can tell, 50 years ago, he mapped out a 4, 5, 7, and 11-mile course through the streets of Suffern. Every day he picks you a course, tells you to run as hard as you can, and you're on the 4 o'clock bus home. That's not what this is about. Mr. Biddy is not a sophisticated or technical coach. Instead, he unleashes the highest potential in his athletes through his enduring belief in them. He believes everyone has potential to be great. Anyone can be a success, not only as an athlete, but as a person. He told us over and over again, it's most important to be a good person, next to be a good student, and last to be a good athlete. This is surprising advice from a man who's the most successful coach in any sport in New York State history. Building and shaping athletes is his third priority. I first met Mr. Biddy at a junior high cross-country meet in 1989 when I was in the 8th grade. After watching me race, he asked me if I'd join the winter track team at the high school. The very first time I ever met him, with just one question, I knew he believed in me. From 1986 to 1995, the Suffern boys cross-country streak won 132 dual meets in a row. That win streak is a perfect symbol of what it means to be a part of Suffern cross-country. It's a legacy you inherit from those who came before you, and it's a responsibility to preserve for those who come after you. The biggest test of that streak came in 1991 when I was in the 10th grade. We faced an intimidating North Rockland opponent who went on to finish second in the state that year. At the time, we were nobody. We were proved to have a bright future, but we were a very dim present. On the eve of that race, Mr. Biddy pointed at me and gave me the simplest and only advice I needed. You will win. That day I never doubted myself. Mr. Biddy created winning to be a preordained destiny. Mr. Biddy believed in me. I'm proud to say we graduated with our piece of the streak intact. I'll never forget how many wins we had when we graduated. 102 in a row. It's the PIN code on my ATM card.
Maybe another number.
When I was a senior in 1993, we were heavily favored to win the state meet. There was no pep talk. There was no strategizing. The only thing Mr. Biddy said to us was to remember our Suffern cross-country team shirts so we'd all match when we stepped on the stage to accept our plaque. No. He believed in us. In 1994, the spring of my senior year, I had trouble at home. I told Mr. Biddy I needed a place to stay. Without hesitation, he took me in. Every morning, Mrs. Biddy made me breakfast, and Mr. Biddy drove me to school. Every day after practice, he took the two of us home. He never asked when I was going to leave. I knew he was there for me as long as I needed him to be. He still believed in me. In 1997, in one of the lowest moments of my life, I had to leave college to be hospitalized. I wasn't sick in a conventional sense. I had a disease of emptiness and darkness, a complete devastation of self-worth. You can't possibly imagine the feeling I had when Mr. Biddy walked into my hospital. Here was a man I emulated and looked up to. He'd only known me at my best. I was embarrassed and ashamed at what I'd become. He sat next to me. He reminded me I was important. For a moment, he gave me back my worth. He gave me hope. I needed someone to believe in me when I no longer believed in myself. That was Mr. Biddy. When I sat down to write this speech, and I'm not making this up, an old Beach Boys song came on in the background. The chorus caught my attention. God only knows what I would be without you. That moment was a cosmic coincidence where the outside world somehow understands what you're feeling inside. Honestly, in my life, I don't know what I would have become without him. I hope it's clear what Mr. Biddy is meant to be. Without exaggeration, he has been the most important, formative, and influential person in my life. But my time has passed. There's a new generation of athletes whose future you hold in your hands. This is a group of freshman athletes who want to finish their careers with Mr. Biddy. Hold on to him as long as possible. Don't hurt these kids. Don't deprive them of the privilege of having someone believe in them when they need it most. I know there's a lot of enthusiastic kids here, and I'm not trying to make a spectacle, I'm just trying to make a point. Everyone here who wants to see Mr. Biddy stand, just please stand. Don't make any noise. Sit down. If there's anyone here who wants to see him go, I want to hear your voice too. You can stand up. History is filled with people willing to fight harder to defend what is theirs than people will fight to take it away. That's what North Rockland and Clark Southern could never understand. We don't run for ourselves, but for a family that now spans generations, fighting boys and men that have never even met each other. We only know the names: Hagen, Van Wheat, Cox, Gagliano, Romagna, Lowlang, Horton. Brothers in spirit, dedication, and purpose. There's only one constant across all those years: Mr. Biddy. He believed in all of us. Now, I don't know if any of this matters. I hope that you have an open mind and you will listen to what we all have to say tonight. I want to believe that you will make the right choice. But perhaps this is one of those moments in life that no matter how hard you prepare, no matter how hard you try, you just can't force the outcome to bend in your direction. So be it. Despite the circumstances, this is one of the great honors of my life to be able to speak here tonight on behalf of Mr. Biddy. My words aren't for you anyway. They're for him. Thank you.
My name is Frank Barry, and I graduated from Suffern in 1993. A few days ago, I was flipping through some old cross-country packets that Mr. Biddy would prepare for us at the end of each season. The packets included our record of accomplishments alongside teams from the past, and also included newspaper clippings from our season. I noticed a 1992 Journal News story about our 6-year dual meet streak that Jimmy mentioned. I was co-captain of that team, and I was quoted talking about the responsibility we felt to keep the streak alive because of the bond we felt with past Suffern teams. My quote in the story was, "They've come back and supported us and cheered us on. They're like a family." That sense of family was created and nurtured by Mr. Biddy. It's something all of us on the team felt, profoundly affected my life, and it's why I'm here tonight. For many of us, Mr. Biddy was something of a second father. When we doubted ourselves, as Jimmy said, he helped us believe in ourselves. When our schoolwork was not going well, he counseled us. When we acted like jerks, which we did, he let us have it. And when one of us got into trouble, as Jimmy mentioned, he and Mrs. Biddy opened their doors to their own home until things got better. By doing that, Mr. Biddy not only helped out a kid in need, he showed the rest of us what it means to support the people we care about. His devotion to us inspired our devotion to each other, and we came to see each other as brothers. In the grand scheme of things, high school athletic accomplishments aren't worth much in and of themselves, but how they are accomplished is worth everything. By learning to push ourselves beyond our limits, Mr. Biddy taught us what becomes possible with hard work. By learning how to push each other and help teammates fulfill their potential, Mr. Biddy taught us the real meaning of leadership. By learning how to handle setbacks and defeats, Mr. Biddy taught us the power of perseverance. And by learning how to fully devote ourselves to a common mission, Mr. Biddy taught us how the sum of the whole is always greater than the sum of the parts. Whatever success I've achieved in life, I owe in no small part to those lessons. It would be easy to say that Mr. Biddy's accomplishments speak for themselves, but the truth is his greatest accomplishments don't hang on any banner, they aren't found in any yearbook, and they can't be found in any Hall of Fame. His greatest accomplishments were teaching me and Jimmy and thousands of others that are runners the lessons that they've carried with them for the rest of their life. Over the weekend, I quickly texted my sister, who also ran under Joe Biddy, and I said, "I'll be speaking here tonight. Do you have any suggestions for what I should say?" And I just want to read what she wrote quickly. "I learned more from Joe Biddy about how to live my life with integrity, how to set goals, keeping true priorities in mind, how to be gracious in victory as well as in defeat, how to be part of a team even when abilities varied, how to support my teammates' lives away from the track." I could go on, she wrote, but really, I've long felt that much of what I believe about how to be a good human being, I've learned from Joe Biddy. She closed by writing, "Not sure why I took all those classes in high school. Everything that was really essential, I learned on the track." I hate it when my sister's more eloquent than I. Let me just close with one story. In September, after I graduated from high school, I got a call one night. One of the guys a year behind me, Eric Huss, had died in a car accident. I'd only been at college a few weeks. I had no car. Flights home were expensive. But I knew I had to come home for Eric and for the team. That's what families do. 3 years later, when I was 21, my father died. It was late August. Suffern school year hadn't yet started. But Mr. Biddy came to the wake, and he brought the whole cross-country team with him. Guys I'd never met before, wearing jackets and ties. They came to support me because that's what families do. The guys I ran with are still like brothers to me. We still feel connected to the generations that came before us and after us, and the family that Mr. Biddy nurtured. To this day, we all run through a brick wall for him because of everything he did for us and taught us. No one is perfect. We all make mistakes, and who's right, we don't know all the details. And we have a responsibility to learn from our mistakes. But when sitting in judgment, I think we also have a responsibility to consider the true scope of a person's character and their service to their community. And I hope and I urge that you fully consider that, not because of what he has done for us, but because of what he will do for future runners. Thank you.
3 minutes, please.
I'll be quick. My name's Bob Buno. I'm retired from this district for 7 years now. I worked 33 years as a phys ed teacher, in the last 16 as a director of athletics. I'll be very honest with you. I'm conflicted because I'm kind of in the middle of, Andy is a friend of mine. I've been in his shoes, was there for quite some time, and I've unfortunately had to be in this exact situation numerous times. But I'm a friend of Joe Biddy's. I've worked very closely with him my entire career. I know this decision's not, especially a decision not to bring back any coach is tough, but someone of Joe's stature is very difficult. It's not made by one person. I understand that. And I think as people are removed from the situation, maybe things get lost a little bit. If you're not actively involved with the cross-country and track program on a daily basis, if you're not in the high school, if you're not really involved with the athletic department, you don't get a true sense. So my goal today was really to stand up for Joe and hopefully give you a sense of what I was able to observe through many, many years of service here in the district. Joe was in a really unique position to impact the most number of kids at Suffern through those years. I believe he's got 49 years in. He dealt with kids on the cross-country team. It could have been 30 to 40 kids. The big numbers were during winter track. He had anywhere between 100 and 150 kids on our winter track team, and then when he was coaching spring track, we had large numbers there. You heard some of the success stories from two of the speakers here, or three of the speakers here tonight. I don't think this is about the numbers, to be honest with you. Although, obviously, he's got a history of success that's unparalleled in New York, and I would probably stack him up with anybody on a national level as well. But it's the impact that he makes with kids. To have a coach with the passion that Joe Biddy has had for running, the connection that he's able to make with kids, and to combine that with a work ethic, has produced an awful lot of results. Jimmy and Frank, great examples of what we've established here. Joe's established here in our athletic department, and Joe certainly with a direct impact from his standpoint. Now, we've had a ton of kids go on and run in college. We've had big-time Division I kids, scholarship athletes Division II, kids running Division III, but probably the greatest number of kids we've had didn't run in college. I'm very friendly with a couple of runners that Joe had over 45 years ago. And they're continually asking me to set up dinner with Joe Biddy because of the impact that he's made on their lives. I'm sure you've gotten, through social media, you've heard in the last few months a lot of this stuff. I think that's the mark of a special person. When you have an individual, all right, that has knowledge, experience, passion, and the ability to connect with kids, you have something special. And I think that's Joe Biddy. So I would hope, and I don't know, again, what Amy said was right. We're not privy to all the stuff that happens in personnel decisions. I understand that, but I would be remiss and would feel guilty if I didn't come here and tell you that I really believe that Joe Biddy had certainly been a special, special person, and I would hope that you would reconsider and bring Joe back.
My name is Bob Godowitz. I have three grown daughters that went through the Suffern system. Samantha's my middle daughter. She's grown now. She's 30, 31 years old. She's married, has a 9-month-old baby, and that's why she's not here. She's out on Long Island. Anyway, Samantha sent me something that she wanted me to read. I will be brief. It'll take about a minute and a half. Okay? This is from Sam. A few weeks ago, I was asked to be the keynote speaker at the Women in Sports Day at Suffern High School. I gladly accepted and truly looked forward to the event. When I sat down to write my speech, I began to think about my athletic career and who impacted and motivated me the most besides my parents. I was a three-sport varsity athlete at Spring Valley High School, an All-American college athlete, and a professional softball player. I've been coached by a lot of people, and without a doubt, Mr. Biddy was the first person I ever thought of. I chose to speak about him that day without knowing that something he loved most had been taken away from him, and that was coaching. It wasn't until after I made the speech that I was clued in to what had recently happened. And as an aside, it was after that speech later that day that I and my wife told Samantha what had happened. She didn't know that going in. Anyway, back to Samantha. I was a student of Mr. Biddy's and I ran track for him. As a student, he encouraged and believed in me when many teachers didn't. He knew how to motivate a student who needed that extra push, so I wouldn't be an average student who fell between the cracks. He taught his students how to be a team player and how to work hard and achieve success. As I mentioned in my speech, Mr. Biddy asked me to run track because he knew the importance of being well-rounded and involved in multiple school activities. I soon learned that I would never have another coach like him. He truly cared and believed in every single athlete on his team. He motivated, he encouraged, he pushed, and most of all, he was a true supporter on and off the field. This is proven by the relationships he developed with his athletes, but also in the success he has brought to Suffern High School. Mr. Biddy is a self-made man, and he built a track program that is known state and nationwide. Nothing was handed to him. He earned his job and his success. through hard work and putting in endless hours of his own personal time. He would even show up on Christmas Eve for optional practices for athletes who wanted to continue running during winter recess. He was selfless, taking time away from his family to make sure his athletes had the support they needed. Excuse me. Lastly, I am now a physical education teacher too. I think of Mr. Biddy often and how much he impacted me as a student athlete. I am so grateful that I was able to have him as a teacher, but most of all as a coach. It is extremely disappointing as an alumni of Suffern High School to hear how this situation has gone down. I hope you reconsider your decision, as you will never find someone as devoted and loyal to their program as Joe Biddy. That's from Samantha.
Everybody, I'm Joe Biddy. Jimmy, was that number 102? Give me your cybersecurity. I'd like to thank Dr. Adams and the board for hearing us out, parents, kids, and friends from across the country that have supported this campaign. I retired from teaching after 52 years in 2016. Took over boys winter track in '73. Coached it for 45 years until 2017. I started the girls program in 1978. It was supposed to be a short gig that went in also until 2017, 40 years later. Over the years, with the help of several outstanding coaches, these two programs are going to combine a total of 80 county and sectional titles, plus 123 other meets. The program produced 63 state federation champions, as well as 9 national champions. In 49 seasons of coaching boys cross country, our boys have averaged 13 dual wins a year against 1 loss. They had 107 major wins, which include 15 sectional titles, 13 county titles, 2 state titles, and in 1993, the New York State Federation meet. At that time, our state feds, as they were called then, was considered to be the most competitive one-race state meet in the country. In this 2017 race, Suffern defeated the runner-up team by 108 points. All those guys are here today. To this day, that was my proudest moment as a coach. Next to my family, Barbara, Marcy, and Greg, coaching cross country has been the most important part of my life since 1969. I take tremendous pride in the athletes that I've coached. It's a sport in which the hardest work to succeed. There are no easy days in our athletes' performances. Our athletes' perseverance has always been steadfast. Each athlete sets personal goals and adheres to them during the season. A model that I try to pass on to the kids is what I call the 3 C's: consistency, commitment, competitiveness. Consistency in their world means coming to school every day, going to class, going to practice, doing the homework at night. Commitment is keeping what's important to you on the front burner. Competitiveness means leaving it all out there in practice and in competition. I love the way the kids bond together, support each other, and are there for each other in the good days as well as the bad days. They develop friendships that last long after the high school days are over. I've been blessed to be able to work with the kids and their parents and their peers. I've dedicated most of my life to teaching and coaching, and have loved every single minute of it. I still feel that I have much to offer to our athletes and to our program. In conclusion, although I can see the finish line, I'm not quite ready to cross it yet. I know that when I do step down, I will miss terribly the interaction with the kids, parents, and all those associated with this beautiful sport. I would hope that a half-century of total commitment to my profession and to the school district would have earned me the right and the privilege to choose when it was time to leave. Thank you.
is Françoise Gross, and I'm the mother of two boys who went through the whole school system in Suffern. And one of them, who now lives in Southern California, called me this morning to remind me I must come today. And here I am to pay homage to Joe Biddy. He is whatever my son has become, a 44-year-old man now. The best in his character he owes to Mr. Biddy and the cross-country team. When he started high school, he became very sick. And the first race that the team ran, they won. And they brought the cup to Christophe in his hospital room. And they said they won because Mr. Biddy had said, "We'll run for Christophe." And I remember I cried. My husband says I cry reading the phone book, but but anyway, whatever is good in Christophe's character today, he owes in part to Mr. Biddy. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out. I'm happy to do it.
So what's your decade again, the 80s or the 90s?
I'm the 90s. And what's funny is when we were in the 90s, we heard about the 70s, and we couldn't.
The golden era, yeah.
We used to hate hearing about the 70s.